2016 feels like the year that 4K has really started to make sense. Not only do we have the screens, but we now have the content, with the arrival of 4K Blu-ray and the first 4K Blu-ray players. With two currently on the market, the Panasonic DMP-UB900 and the Samsung UBD-K8500, we decided it was time for a good old-fashioned head-to-head to see which one comes out on top. Which one should you buy? Keep watching to find out. When it comes to pure looks, we have to side with the Panasonic. It just feels like the better put together machine. Despite the Samsung having a metal top panel, it's pretty thin and everywhere else just feels a bit plasticky and cheap. Particularly this clunky flap that hides the USB port. The Panasonic is plastic too, but has a better, sturdier overall finish, which just feels a little bit more consistent. We're also not sold on the curve to the Samsung either. The display on the Panasonic gets the thumbs up from us too. You get a few notification LEDs on the Samsung instead, but they're not as good at telling you what the player is doing, and we like the clarity that having a display offers. As well as some pretty sparse but responsive touch controls on both, they also come with remotes in the box. The Panasonic remote is much larger, and we prefer the way the Samsung remote fits in your hand, but we really appreciate the backlighting on the Panasonic, which the Samsung remote goes without. You'll also need coin-shaped 3-volt batteries for the Samsung, whereas the Panasonic takes the more standard AAA variety. Turning them around to have a look at connectivity, it's clear that the Panasonic isn't just the prettier face, it's also the better spec machine too. We can see they both offer twin HDMI outputs, which is handy if you want to separate out video and audio, and there's also a single optical out and a USB port each. But the Panasonic throws in coaxial and multi-channel analog outs too, plus there's also an SD card slot for external media. Whether you need them or not will depend on your setup, but the Panasonic certainly offers greater flexibility in this respect. As for performance, it's more good news for the Panasonic. Picture quality does come close between the two, but Panasonic impresses a little more with a richer colour palette and a better sense of depth and shading. Audio, on the other hand, is noticeably better on the Panasonic, sounding not only richer and fuller-bodied, but also subtler and more detailed too. We also notice the Samsung picks up a hard edge to some sound effects and voices, which can be a little distracting. Load times were similar though, loading discs quickly and without issue for the most part. We had a few stutters and a crash with the Samsung in early testing, but after a reset it worked just fine. We're taking it as a hiccup rather than a personality flaw, and we expect any persistent issues like this to be covered with a firmware update anyway. There's little to separate them when it comes to smart features, so you can expect most of the UK catch-up apps and film favourites like Netflix and Amazon available for your viewing pleasure. Your shiny new 4K TV is likely to have them more easily to hand, of course, but they're there if you need them. Of course, it's worth remembering the Panasonic comes in £170 more expensive than its rival at £600, compared to the Samsung at £430. But all things considered, we still think your money is better spent on Panasonic's UB900. Not only is it better built and better spec'd, but it's also more crucially the better performer of the two, and is really going to make the most of those 4K discs. If you want to read more on either of these players, you'll find full in-depth reviews of both the Panasonic DMP-UB900 and the Samsung UBD-K8500 on whathifi.com. And if you found this video useful, do give it a thumbs up and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos on home entertainment and hi-fi. If you want to get in contact, you can get us on all of the social media channels. You can like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, or add us on Google+.